The voice of U.S. Army WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots. I'm not sure how to intro this week. It was just a shit show.
A royal shit show.
So yeah, Lewis asked. I said, "Hey, we got a great show coming up tonight with United Valor." He said, "United Valor?" ? So yeah, we're going to talk about our guest tonight. So tonight we got Beau, Tom, and Dan are going to be on talking to us about their new book called "The 20-Year War." Now, what war could that be? Basically,
Infinity War.
The Infinity War. At least there's a number to it, right? It's a collection. It's a book. It's a picture album. It's a collection of veterans talking about their experiences that they had fighting the war on terrorism. They're also co-owners of United Valor. United Valor fosters authentic engagement by helping men and women who served the country. So they just another one of the great organizations that help veterans. They got their fingers in a lot of stuff, and they do a lot of good. Let me see. Tom and Dan are both Rangers, and Beau is a photojournalist, and they put together this awesome book. And I bought I went online and I bought the limited edition. There's two different. You get the standard edition or the limited edition. Limited edition comes with a special cover for the book. It's signed and numbered, and comes with a challenge coin and a bunch of cool extras and stuff. So I thought that would be, perfect timing if in such a shitty situation. And we're going to talk about Afghanistan here in just a little bit. I just kind of want to get my stretching exercises done before I begin. So yeah, they're going to be on the show starting in the second hour, and we're going to talk about Afghanistan, man. It's just that's front page news right now. Normally here on Friday Night Freedom, I kind of like to highlight the stuff that's not front page news, but this is the elephant in the room that you just can't ignore. So I'm going to share. So I'm going to share some personal opinion, and I've collected and summarized some of the facts. And this is an ever-changing thing. I don't have all of the most current stuff, like as in, I just got back from work probably 40 minutes ago. So, I haven't had a lot of time to do any prep today. It was mostly assembly of the show. But it's just like maybe an hour a night during the week, and it's been a full week as far as work goes. But then it's also been a full week as far as trying to consume the news, parse it down into something that I can talk about. So how you been, dude?
Just living life, man. This week's been rough, man. So I've been kind of weird, just cleaning, man. Cleaning everything around the house, because I'm trying to keep my mind off things. And
did you get jacked up from that hurricane? Not hurricane, tropical storm. Fred? We got some rain. That was about it. Okay, but it was a lot of rain. I saw it on the coast, I did see a bunch of flooding and whatnot. And that was going on. There's another hurricane that's out in the ocean right now. It's probably not going to hit anywhere south of like Connecticut.
No, actually, it's that's the first hurricane that's made a direct impact on New England in 30 some years around this time, I think.
Henry, the one that's going to hit like Connecticut or whatever. Or
I don't know if it's shifted or not. It looked like it was going to go straight up through like New York, up through Boston, and then along the coast pretty much.
I saw
and hit pretty much all that. But
I saw another cone. How they have the cone of doom. And it's
cone
kind
of uncertainty.
The cone of uncertainty, and that's what it is, because I've seen it skirting up the coast, and I've also seen it staying out in the Atlantic and then hitting somewhere around Connecticut or something like that. So David Salcida said about 30 minutes ago they imposed new sanctions on Russia.
Oh wow! Okay. What is Russia doing to us? That's besides the cyber attacks that I'm pretty sure the government isn't even involved with. It's probably not even Russia. They're just saying it's Russia. What is Russia really doing to us? I mean, China's done more jacked up shit to us in the last.
China should have been on people's radar from, like 20 years ago. China's that snake in the grass that just does their thing. Russia's pretty boisterous. They're always there. They
just want to mind their own business. That's all they want to do.
Yeah, who is they? Who's they? Who's the they that are imposing sanctions? Is that us? I don't know. I haven't seen that information, so I can't really talk with any authority on that.
I'll do the Joe Rogan thing and go look it up for you.
Thanks, brother. So here we are, the 20th of August, man. This year is kind of smoked by a lot. 127 days till Christmas. I didn't do the count for Halloween.
Every time someone mentions Christmas before Thanksgiving, Santa has to kill an elf. Just saying.
Damn, I guess we're down one more elf. Hans Bricks. So let's. Do you want to jump right into this as far as Afghanistan goes?
I'm looking. Well, Newsweek just blew my eyes out. How bright it is.
Night mode. For all of you web developers out there, if you're making pages and stuff, have like an option to enable night mode.
No one wants to read on bright white anymore. It's bad for your eyes. Just invert everything.
You know what?
The Russia thing.
Okay, yeah.
Is Russia hit with new U.S. sanctions over the Nord Stream 2 pipeline.
What? We gave it to them, or we basically allowed them to continue it.
Sanctions were directed at 2 Russian ships and I don't know, I can't pronounce the name, which involved in laying pipe for the project. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. Or blah, blah, blah. Members of Congress have voiced their concerns over piping, giving Russia too much power in Europe, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Whatever, just another political fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that was like common information. And how you doing, Holly? Thanks for joining. Anyway, it was all common information. We're like, this is what's going to happen, and then Biden gave it to him anyway. And now they're like, oh. Now they're just realizing it.
You cancel our pipeline, give Russia a pipeline. That makes well, it wasn't really our pipeline. It was more like Canada's pipeline, but still, I mean. That's our good neighbor up there. They're pretty much Americans that say aboot and you guys are
and sorry.
They apologize for everything. They're nice. They drink milk out of plastic bags. I mean, I can't wrap my brain around it.
Remember last week you said like the majority of Canadians live below whatever, and it was I actually looked that up, and it's like the majority the population centers of Canada sit below the city of Seattle.
Yes.
And so, if you look at the Earth,
Americans live north than Canadians.
Oh, it's not free health insurance, Elizabeth. Nothing in this world is free. Nothing in the world is free. I don't care. I don't care where
unless you go out and grow your own food, but still you got to work for it.
You got to work for it. Nothing is free. It's free health insurance because you got like a 60% income tax. When it's all said and done, I'm just throwing out a number there.
Not working, that doesn't matter to them. I'm just saying.
Freedom, well, yeah. Freedom isn't free. You know what's really funny is I watched Team America on Netflix the other day because I needed like a not a documentary, not anything crazy to watch. News is depressing. So I ended up watching Team America. And yes, freedom costs $1.05. And then all the memes coming out from all this Afghanistan debacle. So anyway, I just want to remind you to make sure you're here for the top of the next hour. We got the folks from United Valor. We got Tom Amenta, Beau Simmons, and Dan Blakely are going to be here, and it's going to be a great conversation.
Okay, so I'm reading a little bit more into these sanctions here because the good old chat is informing me, and I'm reading into it a little bit more. This is
thank you, everybody.
Thank you for. I mean, I didn't hear anything about it, so you're helping me out learn a little bit. But this is from Treasury.gov.
Oh, good one, Carl.
Treasury sanctions Russian operations and entities linked to the poisoning of Lesky Navalny chemical weapons program. So I guess I read about someone getting poisoned somewhere in Russia, but this, I mean, I'm not really keeping up with it, but
So Carl Oliver floated something out. He goes, the Taliban will demand all fighters in Guantanamo before they allow Americans to come home safely. That's a real possibility.
If this administration wouldn't do it, but if we had a really ballsy administration, we'd take them out and shoot one and be like, if you want the guys home, give us our guys back. You can have your guys back. But every day that goes by, you're losing another one at that point.
So pull terrorist tactics on them.
Hey, sometimes you fight fire with fire. I don't know if you've seen the way the Cold War CIA and KGB used to do things. You kill an agent, the CIA would get a hold of another agent and chop them up and send them. It's just crazy the way things work. But sometimes you're just gonna get down dirty, get your hands dirty, rub that blood on there. And
Jim Handy asks an interesting question. He goes, "Is something horrible to think about? Would Hillary have been a better president than Biden or Kamala?"
You know what? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't have to think about that. Yes.
No, I don't even have to think about it. Yes, totally. It would have been horrible, but still, yeah, totally.
It would have been less horrible. How about that?
It's a lesser of two evils kind of thing.
Our opinions. Yeah, and that's what it is. It's just our opinions. I mean, so many gears and moving parts within the political sphere. I don't pretend to know everything. I know some things, and maybe my opinion is incorrect based on the information that I have. But hey, that's
opinions are opinions. They could be true or not. I mean, that's just your personal belief at that point.
So, all right.
If you want to shoot that cannon.
I'm going to. I just don't know, because this seems more of like what this is rather than me shooting off the hip. I wrote things down just so I don't get sidetracked. I've got the things in front of me so I can say these things, and because I can get distracted by a shiny object and go off into left field like really fast. So I'm going to be reading this, but this is my summary, I guess, of what has happened and is happening. So here we go. Some interesting things happened last week. I mentioned during last week's show that at that time, the Taliban had continued their methodical takeover of the country. And when I say methodical, I mean that the Taliban has been reclaiming territory in Afghanistan since May of this year. There was a plan at one point to systematically draw down in Afghanistan under the Trump administration. It would have been orchestrated by and executed by the Department of Defense. So as we all know, elections have consequences. When the Biden administration was installed, the drawdown plan changed. The State Department was now responsible for drawing up the plans to withdraw from the region, and the withdrawal was to be executed by the Department of Defense. In the original DoD plan, Bagram Air Base was to be one of the final bases to close. In spite of the DoD pleading with the State Department to keep Bagram open, the base was unceremoniously closed under the cover of night on July 2nd, 2021. Then, On July 8th, during a press conference, President Biden was asked by a reporter if he was concerned that the Taliban would or could take over Afghanistan. President Biden replied, no. Afghanistan, and this is, I'm continuing to quote, Afghanistan has 300,000 persons serving in the Afghanistan military. And this knowledge, I guess, was also a critical element for justification that we, the USA, should leave the region. Now, that 300,000 person number has been disputed, and at its height, some of the fact checkers out there said that the most that they ever had at one time was 200,000.
I did read somewhere that a lot of commanders were doing ghost troops, I guess, so they could collect pay from them.
Yes, because guess who's paying the Afghanistan military's paycheck?
We are.
Us. As of last Friday, Taliban had taken over half or nearly half of all the provinces in Afghanistan. Kandahar had just fallen days prior, and service members throughout the country were en route to Kabul, the capital, where embassy staff were and remaining service members, and in some cases their families, were awaiting evacuation. Find it hard to believe hard to think of hey, I'm going to be doing embassy duty, or we're going to be in Afghanistan. You want to come join us? I would not even consider bringing my family into that country, especially
No.
Just no.
No, that's one of those like high risk jobs that you'd be like, sorry, you're staying home. I'm going overseas at that point. But
yeah. So after the fall of Kandahar, Pupand and all, a statement was made on 11 August 2021 by a team within the Pentagon stating that, quote, it is our assessment that Kabul could fall to the Taliban within 90 days. So they made that statement on 11 August. Today is 20 August.
Took less than a week.
Took 4 days.
4 days, less than a week, yeah.
4 days. 4 days after they made the statement, Kabul fell on the 15th. We've all seen the pictures and the videos and the chaos at the airport. The packed fucking C-17, which is a legitimate configuration on the C-17.
What's that? Having 900 million people on it? No?
Yeah, there's a floor. It's floor seating. I'm not making this up. It's floor seating.
I mean, I sat on a plane one time on a I guess it was a pack of MREs flying from Kuwait to Mosul one time. So I mean, yeah.
How'd you like Mosul? I always like flying into Mosul.
Mosul was nice when I was there. It was very peaceful, very quiet. Not much happened because it was mostly the Kurdish forces that were there. The Kurds. I love the Kurds. I have nothing
aren't they awesome?
to say about the Kurds. Yes, they're great people.
So I mean, that's floor seating on a C-17. They basically take out all the seats, and there's cargo straps that go horizontally throughout the aircraft for people to strap in and hang on to. So it's not like they're just free floating. But yeah. So that's that. Where did I leave off here? I should have written notes on my notes.
You got to keep those little sticky tab things, with you. So when you get distracted, you slap one down on there and you go back to it.
It's just so bad, man. And I use sticky tabs a lot at work. Everything that I'm working on, I got a sticky tab. It's got a note on it. I accomplish whatever that is on an engineering drawing. Boom, take off the sticky tab. And when I'm sticky tab free, my job is done. So anyway, General Milley, the top military officer, expressed disbelief in the implosion of the Afghan army in a press conference on Wednesday afternoon. This is 2 fucking days ago. He says, quote, they had the training, the size, and the capability to defend their country. This comes down to an issue of will and leadership. And no, I did not, nor did anyone else see a collapse of an army that size in such a short time frame. And he threw out a number of 11 days.
It's got to be, has to be a historic level of an army collapsing, like an entire nation just falling at that point.
So I thought about his comments, and I wrote down, and this is just really General Milley, never saw it coming. I think everyone, especially veterans, saw this coming 100 miles away. To tell you the truth, I don't recall a single conversation with anyone about the subject that didn't include a complete implosion of the Afghan government and military without U.S. forces in the theater. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it's not... Sure, forces pull out, there's going to be a serious vacuum there. And guess who was there to fill that vacuum? That was the Taliban. Everybody knew it.
Same thing happened in Iraq. Not even what 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe. We pulled out of Iraq and ISIS kind of just filled the gap.
See, I was in Iraq during the drawdown. We were in the DFAC when President Obama was doing a press conference saying that he wasn't going to renew the status of forces agreement. So that changed a lot of things. I was a contractor over there, so contractors were like the first to go. I mean, we left a couple people behind, me and the site supervisor, shut down our operation in Kirkuk. We both got on a plane and went back to Kuwait. I'm trying to draw comparisons between the drawdown in Afghanistan and then the drawdown in Iraq. There was not anything in Iraq that I saw that was chaotic. I didn't see a lot of disorganization and shit. What I'm seeing in Afghanistan is exactly the opposite. We were very methodical when we left Iraq. Everything, I don't remember anything horribly bad happening, like what's happening in
interpreters being left behind with no way of getting, even though promises. At this point, no one's gonna ever trust us again. When we go, if we have to do something like this, hey, help us out, we'll do favors for you. No, they're gonna remember this shit, and they're gonna be like, screw you.
It's a what the hell is just talking about Afghanistan in general. It's right
now with the August 15th and 16th is amazing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on that, but that right there, with the headdress and everything, I was showing that to all my friends. It's like that's how quick it happened.
Do you know that picture right there got fact checked? It says it's missing. It's missing context. Missing context.
This fact check shit needs to go out the window. I've seen some things fact checked. I know blatantly I heard and seen with my own eyes, and they're like, nah, that's not what happened. I'm done with it.
So, after my Milley opinion there, President Biden also said, and this is a quote from President Biden. He says, quote, "We gave them," meaning the Afghans, "a chance to determine their own future. What we could not provide them was the will to fight for that future. There are some very brave and capable Afghan special forces units and soldiers, but if Afghanistan is unable to mount any real resistance to the Taliban now, there is no chance that 1 more year, 5 more years, or 20 more years of U.S. military boots on the ground would have made any difference." I hate to say it, but I agree with him.
That's 100% at that point.
I give Biden a hard fucking time, but with that statement, that's absolutely correct. It does. You can't be there to I don't know.
We can't sit there and hold their hands for the rest. At that point, we should just put a parentheses U.S. under there and just take complete control of it. No?
But that's the problem. I mean, warfare has changed over the decades. It used to be, we want that. We're not going to give you that. Okay, we're going to fucking take that. A war ensues. Land is taken. Resources are taken. And a new nation appears. This was a nation building thing. And in some cases, and I've got a statement here from a friend of the show who just said it he said it really, really well. I mean, his post just, it gave me goosebumps because it kind of brought things into perspective. So more notes here. This whole situation has really pissed a lot of people off. American veterans and others around the world have left their families for 3, 4, 5 tours, missing their loved ones, important occasions like graduations, funeral for loved ones who had passed, or even the birth of a child. The men and women placed their lives on hold. They shed blood and tears to give the people of Afghanistan in a fighting chance for a new life, a life free from the tyranny of the Taliban. 2,448 of these men and women never made it home alive. This has many veterans asking the question. They're questioning their service. Was all this worth it? I can understand that. You work so hard, spending tours over there. Not just you spend a year over there and come home. You spend a year over there. You come back home. You train up for the next tour, and then you spend another year at home training up for the next tour, or
rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
rinse and repeat.
And even elegy of a Green Beret. It was just going back and back and back and back. But the thing is, you go back and back and back and back, and you're building relationships. This becomes almost a personal thing. Not just these are your orders, go and fulfill these orders. It was you build relationships with these folks. And dude, there's great folks in Afghanistan. They just got shitheads in charge.
Well, I won't. Well, I can't speak for personal experience. So but I've heard stories. Some of them aren't the greatest people on the planet.
It's just, I don't know. I think there's corruption at all levels over there, even the good guys. And, when you have an army that is, let's just say at its highest point was 200,000 people. So you got 200,000 people. It's not, you don't have 200,000 specially trained people like special forces. You have people that are trained to use a weapon and maybe some tactics. How to take care of your weapon. Some of those pictures, and I don't have the picture here, but with the Taliban in the palace or whatever in Kabul, all of those fuckers, not one of them had a finger on the trigger. It's like, who are you trained by, right?
I don't know. Straight up trigger discipline. When I saw this picture that you just showed of the helicopter landing, it just like that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Lots of parallels between Saigon and Kabul, but then President Biden just says no. There's no comparison. No
comparison. So I actually have no. I won't say that. I'm gonna just bite my tongue on that one.
So, I mean, look at all these people, running next to a. If you have any idea how much force and the intake of an engine has, that will pick a motherfucker up and suck it in. And this C-17 that you're looking at was moving. It was moving. Engines are fired up, dude. And they're just. It breaks my heart, man. It really breaks my heart. And these aren't Taliban. These are Afghanistan citizens.
Afghani people. Did you see the one with the one random dude just running by and he's like smiling with his hands up in the air? Someone photoshopped a sign in there that said Epstein didn't kill himself. I about died on that one. I mean, take a bad moment and put some bad funniness to it, I guess.
Some levity, a little bit of levity to that. That's
a little bit of dark humor,
I haven't seen that. But this just lets you know how fucked up, things are over there. And here's the. So the one of the fellows, I guess they found the body. He was a youth soccer player.
19-year-old. He was, I believe, a 19-year-old soccer player. Yeah. It's just sad to hear that. Like, you would rather risk yourself falling off of an airplane than have to deal with the Taliban.
Dude, I saw Marines accepting, over a wall, had barbed wire, concertina wire over the top, passing their baby over I mean, there's, a crowd of Afghans and this baby going, from the back, and this person takes it, the other person takes it. It's like kind of crowd surfing, but it's like the baby version. And as opposed to having the baby being pulled up on stage to sing a song with the band, Marines grabbed it. They were passing this baby over to be in the protection of the United States military. And that killed me. It killed me.
That has a statement itself, that you would rather give your child up to a foreign nation than have them grow up subjected to what was about to happen. This is what blows my mind, is that the fact that no one fought back, knowing exactly what was going to happen. But
so if they have, so it's the will. It's the thing is, it's that threat of, if you help the Americans, then we're going to not only kill you, but we're going to kill your family and everyone you know. And I think that's what the big change was, and that's kind of what the problem in Iraq was. You build a coalition of people who are like-minded locals, and you pay them, you arm them, you train them, but as soon as they get a better offer, they switch sides. And I think that's what happened in Afghanistan. It's not just the it's really hard to put into words, man. It's just, someone can offer you a better deal, I guess, so you take that better deal immediately. It's not it's like investing. You're not in it for the long term. You're just up there for the short gain.
I'm always in it for the long term. But I was reading something here from Wayne Fielder. He said, crowd surfing through razor wire to a U.S. warrior, echoes of the image of a woman getting caught in a wire at the Berlin Wall.
No shit, dude. So anyway, with this picture, U.S. and this is from I believe it's Task and Purpose. The U.S. Air Force C-17 Globemaster safely evacuated some 640 Afghans from Kabul late Sunday. That's believed to be among the most people ever flown on a C-17, a massive military cargo plane that has been operated by the U.S. and its allies for nearly 3 decades. I didn't know it was in service for that long.
The best ride on the face of the earth. I'd rather be in one of those than a 130 any day.
I flew from Kuwait City into Baghdad on a C-130. It didn't suck. It wasn't overly crowded. We had more cargo than people in there. It was like me, a bunch of journalists. And a couple other people. I didn't know anybody.
Every one of my C-130 experiences was like, it was packed like a can of sardines, pretty much, and everyone's just sitting there with all their gear, just chilling. So it's
just imagine being on there. I don't know how many airborne troops a C-130. I'm sure someone's going to put it on here. But if you got a full load of airborne troops on a C-130, how many troops can that hold, fully geared up?
I wasn't even talking about airborne ops. I was just talking, just troop transport, from one point to the next. So they can cram them things tight. Like, you're just sitting there and you can smell the dude's breath sitting next to you, kind of. That's how tight they can pack them things.
So the C-17, using a call sign Reach 871, was not intending to take such a large load, but panicked Afghans who had been cleared to evacuate pulled themselves onto the C-17's half-open ramp. Instead of trying to force those refugees off the aircraft, the crew made the decision to go. Approximately 640 Afghan civilians disembarked with the aircraft when it arrived at its destination. I think it was going to Qatar?
Tajikistan?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know where.
I know that's where the Afghani president took off to, which I'm surprised you haven't even mentioned that yet.
He bailed to Tajikistan.
Yeah. Did you see the picture of him rolling up on this nice airplane? And he's got his bodyguards, and they're all carrying duffel bags. I was like, yeah, that's loaded with, Benjamins at that point. And he gonna live the rest of his life chilling at that point.
Word of the flight spread across late Sunday in the United States when audio from the crew estimating that they were carrying nearly 800 passengers was posted online. A defense official, speaking on the condition of anonymity, said that the true number was about 640. So back to Kabul. Now the Taliban is confiscating weapons from the civilians.
Go figure.
Kind of sounds familiar to what some of our politicians want to do here in the United States.
No, yeah, take away the weapons from the people so they can't defend themselves.
These words, Taliban fighters in the Afghanistan capital of Kabul started collecting weapons from civilians on Monday because people no longer need them for personal protection, a Taliban official said.
We will protect you.
Exactly. He said, and this is a quote, we understand people kept weapons for personal safety. They can now feel safe. We are not here to harm innocent civilians. So if you read into that statement, innocent civilians means exactly that. And if anybody had helped in any way, shape, or form the coalition forces that were over there, then you're pretty much fucked, because and I keep on reading, they're going door to door and they're snatching people up that had opposed. They're targeting known critics, despite the claims that they have ordered their fighters to act with restraint. I think act with restraint was the word that was used. In Kandahar, the Taliban have been detaining and executing suspected members of the provincial government and security forces, and in some cases, their families and relatives. So yeah, they're saying one thing and they're doing another, and it's gonna continue. But I also hear a lot of talk, and this is just talk. It's not, September 11th was the date that we're going to be drawn down. And, everyone's asking, why don't we just bomb because we left? What the hell? We left. Where's my notes? I gotta turn back here. We got.
People are saying why didn't we just bomb them?
Yeah, hold on a second. So imagine the statement of charges for this. So back in Afghanistan, we've I'm not even talking about the money aspect. 600,000 weapons, 75,000 vehicles, 200 aircraft, and who knows how much ammo. And by aircraft, I saw Blackhawks that were, left behind. I've seen pictures of cases and cases of.
What's it? Navy SEAL. It's a Chinook, pretty much. There was a Chinook left behind. I saw that was in service during Vietnam. That's crazy.
So I mean, and here from an aviation guy like myself, sure, you leave. Let's say you leave a Sikorsky back there. You leave a Blackhawk back there. It's good until it's not. It's good until it's not. I mean, you need to perform. Maintenance needs to be performed on these things. When I was in Iraq, we worked with Iraqi civilians, training them to be pilots, training them to be mechanics and electricians and whatnot. And these are guys that were tending goats 2 weeks prior, and now you're training them to maintain an aircraft. We had Russian aircraft, we had American aircraft. Bell helicopter at the time had forget what the model is. It's a ARH, Armed Reconnaissance Helicopter, which is basically an up armored and armed 407. Sent a bunch over. We had a contract to manufacture a fuck ton of those things, and of course mission creep happened, and Bell lost the contract, but a bunch of the aircraft were manufactured, so they got sent to Alabama and then they got sent overseas. But it's the thing is they don't have the expertise to maintain these things, and these are specialized parts. You can't just go buy parts for these things. They're ITAR controlled. You can't just go to you could probably go online or maybe on the dark web and buy some stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say the deep web, you can find anything.
Right. But I mean something to just
finding a pilot's a different story. I mean, them things ain't easy to fly.
They're not. They're absolutely not.
I like driving in a Toyota Helix and just rolling down with the boys with the goat in the back. No, you gotta know how to fly things.
Yeah, you can't just hop in there and make it work. Even if you're a pilot, it takes, there's a learning curve. So you can't just do stuff. So So back to the September 11th thing is the day that we are supposed to have left the nation of Afghanistan. So there's a lot of chatter out there saying that just wait till after the 11th. We're going to bomb the fuck out of our vehicles that are over there. 75,000 vehicles, 600,000 weapons, 200 aircraft, plus countless rounds of ammunition of different flavors.
Well, if they're not all dispersed and sold by then.
So I don't know if there's a lot of Photoshop going on, but there was some it was a picture of an MRAP with a Taliban hanging out of it, and they were like I don't even know if they had a price on that, but they're like selling the shit or advertising it. So let's get into what time is it? See if we're doing good. We're doing good on time.
15 minutes. Yeah.
So here's the perspective. Here's the perspective part of the broadcast, and I really appreciate this perspective. It came from I'm not going to give out his name, but he's a former guest, and he's a combat veteran. He's a Purple Heart recipient. So he said, and these are his words. He says, I wrote this earlier, and I have been going back and forth on whether or not to post it. And then I remembered that I'm not the only one struggling. Hopefully this helps someone else who feels like I do. Ever since I heard the news from the stand, I felt unsure about everything, second guessing what the time that I spent in Afghanistan was worth. And it started turning into second guessing every little decision. I've never felt so unsure or indecisive in my life. In the last week, I've spent more time thinking about the war than I have in years. People died, and for what? The Taliban are running the show again. They are now better equipped than they were with us there, due to them taking control of pretty much every material investment that we made in the government that we tried to prop up. The Taliban are better off than they were 20 years ago. We're watching 2 decades of progress get wiped out almost overnight. It seems like for every Taliban militant that we killed, at least 2 more popped up in their place. It's hard to look at the current situation and be any sort of optimistic. And I'm not sure that's even the right word for it. But after some heavy thought, despite all the things that we did wrong, there are positives. We gave Afghanistan people a glimpse of a better life, a life not ruled entirely by gangsters. Little girls were able to go to school. We kept the Taliban on their heels and in hiding for 2 decades. We kept the bloodshed on their turf and largely succeeded in keeping that same bloodshed away from other people, which was the ultimate reason that we were there in the first place, to deny the Taliban freedom of movement and operation. I wish things had gone differently. I wish there were more positives. I wish this looked like an obvious victory, instead of what certainly appears to be an utter defeat. But I think about those kids. Many Afghan children grew up during the NATO occupation, and I can't help but think that whatever small glimpse of a different life that we gave them, maybe the biggest investment we made in the country was that. Maybe one day these children will decide that they no longer want to be ruled. They want to take their country back from the oppressors. Maybe one day those kids will tear down the Taliban and forge their own future. That fucking Facebook post gave me goosebumps, dude. This dude was in Afghanistan. He was fucking just shot up, all the shit. Multiple tours. And he came with that fucking perspective. And I thought that's probably the best perspective to have. Of all of the shit that we've thrown at the country of Afghanistan, all the help that we've given them, these kids that are 20 years old now grew up under an occupation by NATO, and they have lived in an area where they can enjoy a little bit of freedom, and girls can go to school, and stuff like that. Wolverines, Middle East style. It's coming, man. I mean, it's just because our mission in Afghanistan is done doesn't mean the mission is over.
Well, didn't when the Russians pulled out back the 80s, 90s, I can't remember. There was a massive civil war that popped off, wasn't there?
Yes, there was.
Okay, so this could quite like what was saying here. You've got 20 years of people growing up in a different world. All of a sudden, now the Taliban's gonna come and start enforcing this stuff. They're gonna be like, give a couple of months, you're gonna be like, there's 20-year-olds sitting there going, whoa, wait a minute here. I don't like this. And then like minds get together. You might have a revolution. It might be a positive aspect to all this. Who knows?
There might be, and it might not be for 20 more years. It might not be for 20 more years. But you can't keep people down. It sucks. It sucks. The whole process of being oppressed by a shitty government. It sucks, but you can't keep people down, good people, for long. But then, when I say that, I think, okay, look at Cuba. Fuck, it's like, damn it. When's enough going to be enough? And the people are just going to, at some point.
Well, I wish someone would drop some, Second Amendment on Cuba. It might change really quick, but that's the way it works.
So John Paul, I love that name. Let me see. Grzybowski says, I don't agree with how the exit was executed, but I don't disagree with us leaving. For those people saying it was a waste, look at it like this. For the past 2 decades, the Taliban has been busy hiding and planting IEDs to carry out any hiding and planting IEDs to carry out any real significant attacks outside that shithole country. The sacrifices of our brothers and sisters are made just by our family and friends who didn't have to worry about a plane flying into a building for the last 20 years. Just my 2 cents. I mean, don't for a second, if you're a veteran of Afghanistan, don't for a second think that your service was wasted or that was just time thrown out the window. You did good stuff, man. You did really good stuff. And for those that were in touch, going downtown, kicking in doors and killing the terrorists, you're doing a damn good job. Training the locals to take care of themselves and to protect themselves and their families. That's not time wasted. It seems like it now. It really seems like it now, but it's not time wasted. I mean, let's take a deep breath. I mean, we've got there's still, and I've heard the State Department won't say how many Americans are there. I've heard estimates of, I've heard numbers like 10,000. I've heard 200. So I don't know. I don't know how many Americans are left in Afghanistan. How many Terps are we going to bring over with their their families and stuff? I think the State Department released a statement saying that, hey, we're going to be here as long as we can and then we're leaving. And it sucks. That kind of punched me in the gut. I'm like, dude, you just don't say, okay, here's the deadline, get to Kabul and then we'll take you home. You can't just do that. You got to bring everybody home. Bring everybody home. Show
promises.
Keep your promises. Show those Terps some fucking respect and bring them home. Bring them here.
Keep your promises because that affects your credit score, and you don't want a bad credit score.
Boy, the government's credit score is kind of...
That's already fucked as it is.
Man.
I got a better credit score than the government at this point.
God. So I don't know, man. So what do you think about that perspective statement? Do you think that's accurate?
No, totally accurate. Like, this hearing it was just like, yep, I agree. I mean, I've heard all sides of the stories. I've seen some people just throwing. It sounds like a toddler throwing a little hissy fit about the whole thing. I understand. I feel you. You know, like when I first heard about it, I felt really like kind of punched me in the gut a little bit. You know, it's like, I lost friends over there, high school friends, people that I've known, people who I've served with, family members and stuff like that, and it's just like, well, it's just, and then now everything kicking off, I'm starting to like, after the, initial gut punch, I'm starting to sit back and let logic take. And I was like, I'm just glad we finally ended it and we're getting out of there. It's 20 years. We used to joke it. Like I said, the Infinity War. It's never going to end. It's never going to end. Now it's ended, and I'm just like, wow, it actually did end. So.
And by ending, I'm thinking it's just our direct involvement in it. I don't think it's ended in the least bit, because even the I forget the man's name, the president, I guess, of Afghanistan, who's in Tajikistan right now. He says he said that he's going to continue to fight the Taliban. I hope he's successful. I hope that we are still. I mean, even if it's, and I don't want to minimize their role, but even if it's just the CIA with some spooks over there, doing stuff, let's not just abandon Afghanistan. I mean, there needs to be something there.
That's why I really think we should have held on to the air base as long as we could have. I really do think we should have just held on to it.
See, I got that information from Dan Crenshaw. He said that it was supposed to be Bagram was supposed to be the last air base to close. And
maybe we should have held on to it. But we did that. I believe we did that in Iraq. We held on to Biop. I think we still got troops in that area in Biop. I think. I'm not sure or not. I don't keep up with that crap.
I want to say that it transitioned over to Erbil, but I don't know for sure. I don't know.
You got an asset like that, you don't let it go.
Yeah, right. Biop was, man, I remember flying into Biop. It was night. It was raining. I think it was March. It was raining, and it's just like, the aircraft lands, the back gate drops, grab your shit, and go. I'm like, okay, where do I go? They're like, I don't fucking know. So I'm like, oh my God. I had no idea where to go. I'm walking around with a fucking... my rucksack. I got all my fucking plates and my plate carrier and just every fucking thing, masks, I'm an old man going over there as a fucking contractor, just going, fuck, wow, there's no one here, there's no one that I was with, that I traveled with, that I was going to be assigned with. I knew that I was going to Kirkuk. I'm like, how the fuck am I going to get to Kirkuk? I'm in fucking Baghdad. So I ended up getting there, asking the right people the right questions, and it was horrible, man. I just didn't like it. It was raining, and we got I slept in a tent that night, a leaky ass fucking sun bleached fucking tent, shit dripping everywhere. It was one of those experiences where I'm glad I did it. Don't want to do it again. All right, let's take a break. And when we come back from this break, we're going to have three gentlemen from United Valor coming and join us. Tom Amenta, Beau Simmons, and Dan Blakely are going to be here. We're going to talk about their book. It's a big ass book called The 20-Year War. And we're going to talk about that, what the book entails. And we'll be back in just a few minutes, man. Hang out.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
This is WTF Nation Radio.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And here we go. All right, everybody. This is Koz back at you with Friday Night Freedom. The second half, which is usually the best half. Tonight we've got Beau, Tom, and Dan here from United Valor to talk about things and stuff. And I say things and stuff because United Valor does a lot of stuff. Most recently, they have this pretty badass looking book. I ended up getting the limited edition version of this, but it's a photo journal of the 20-year war, and it's entitled The 20-Year War. And everyone knows, I mean, I guess you could have entitled it The Infinity War, and then you can have like Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. But it's like perfect timing. If you could have perfect timing, it's the 20-year war, and it's about the global war on terrorism, and it's a photojournalist's outtake of this. It's pictures. Pictures speak more than words, and I can't wait to get this thing in the mail. I really can't wait. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here. I wish I could bring you on video. We're trying to get the video to work as we speak, but that's not going to take away from the content. You guys are very handsome gentlemen. Thank you very much for your service, by the way, all of you, in everything that you do.
So if we're talking about handsome, we know that you're only talking about Beau, and that's okay. He's pretty. Dan and I are knuckle draggers.
Beau's kind of cute, I guess. He's got that.
He's got that je ne sais quoi, as his people say.
You're throwing down the French here.
That's all I know. Really, that's just joking. But
so this book, just to summarize, it details the experience of it's pictures, shit tons of pictures. It details the experience of 71 veterans of the global war on terrorism, the realities of their combat, their realities of combat, and their transition post-military. Is that fair?
Yep, right on point.
So tell me, let's talk about United Valor first. Tell me about that organization and what you guys do.
So United Valor was really founded on the principles of authentic storytelling. I think there has been there has been the inability to tell a truthful, authentic story from a veteran's perspective across the board and across all different experiences. There's usually niches, and there's usually the combat stories that are going to come out and things like that. But we wanted to tell really what a veteran is from the human side. What they are, what shaped them to be who they are, why they became the person that they are, how the military shaped them, and really just what they've done in their communities and their businesses and their in their families and things like that, and just how powerful veterans really can be, especially when they have a voice. And we wanted to create a platform that veterans felt comfortable sharing as much as they wanted to. So we created this book, 20-Year War, kind of as our springboard, our initial product and project.
This is your first project.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be huge, bro.
Yeah.
We hope so.
Yeah. And then we created a podcast behind it too, called Never Left Behind, where we just tell longer form of veteran stories, really from their inception of why they joined the military through their military experience, and then their transition and what they're doing today.
Excellent. I'm sure you didn't have a lot of reluctance to share. I mean, if you're going to ask anybody to hey, can you contribute to this effort? I mean, Tim Kennedy's in there, and I know we've had him on the show before, and he just loves to talk and tell stories and explain things. He breaks things down Barney style and just makes you understand. You've got 71 veterans in this book. It's out now. It's out now, or it's I guess the official release is September 11th. Yes.
It's now.
Yeah, we've got to play the publisher game where they get super conservative and they're like, oh, well, we're going to have this date. We're definitely going to have it by then. But go to the website that we have, 20yearwar.com. It's shipping right now. I'm not going to tell you about the military-style slave labor we have going on, about privates being present in service. Because, I'm probably getting in trouble for that. But no, it's you go there, it's out right now. And I do apologize as the one of us who don't live in North Carolina right now. the reason your limited edition hasn't gone out yet is because we agreed to sign them.
Mhm.
I don't know if that was a good idea, but I have to get back to North Carolina on Sunday night to do that, which for the record is Dan being the head, MFer in charge around us. He's been very pointed that I need to get there soon. So that one's on me. I'll take
Yep.
So you've got two different versions of this book, the 20-Year War. You've got your standard edition, which is the book, and then with
Yep.
the limited edition, there's I just bought it tonight, so it's you get a coin, a holder for the book, a patch, a leather patch.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Dan can
Yeah.
probably show it on video, but I'll describe it while he's grabbing it. It comes with a handmade leather patch. You can put on hats, clothing, anything you want. It comes with a really bitchin' unique. It's like almost like a square challenge coin, really unique that Tom and Dan designed. And then it's a slipcover case that's cloth made, so it protects the book. And then the books are all hand signed and numbered. The limited edition, there's only 500, and I think it's pretty limited right now.
Yeah.
But I know we still have some of that one available.
Mhm.
And I'll say this for the coin because, as you guys know, I started off at Ranger Up where we punched out challenge coins that were limited edition every 3 months like it was our job. This coin actually doesn't suck. Like, I'm sorry. I know that strains credibility for my...
Buy our book, you get this coin, and it really doesn't suck.
Well, no, but come on,
That should be the tagline.
military or adjacent, right? Like everyone has a challenge coin, and I've certainly gotten like a Generals or someone, especially at Ranger Up, when we were there. I'm like, oh, here I have our coin. I'm like, yeah, dude, that's cool. Like, thanks, buddy. And then like you can't wait to get rid of it or turn it into a paperweight, or in the case of me, like give it to my family because they thought that was cool and like they still bought into it. When we started doing it, so we found a way to get a really nice sort of stamped embossed coin of the cover. So that picture of the veteran with the rifle butt and his hands folded and the American flag, and it's stamped. And those things came out and like for the first time, I'm not even exaggerating, guys, in 5-6 years, I was like, I want that coin. And I'm honestly like, I'm so happy that, the three of us, said we get one limited edition book for working on it. And that coin is actually going to be displayed probably right next to the picture of me jumping out of the C5 that you can see behind my shoulder. Like, you'll see that eventually when I get it because it's actually that cool. Like, I'm sorry, like, most challenge coins suck. Like, let's be real. If it's not your Eunice coin and the one you drop on the bar to be like, buy me a drink, you could care less. This one actually doesn't suck.
So, Tom, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you were born in Chicago, Army Ranger.
Yep.
Poli-sci degree from University of Illinois.
Yes, which is becoming really handy over the past couple of weeks as the Biden administration keeps screwing up.
So, I mean, Illinois. When I joined, I joined initially out of Illinois, Elgin, Illinois.
Dude, I lived in Dundee. I went to Dundee Crown.
No shit.
U46 to District 300. Like, Beau and Dan are like, what the hell's going on here? No, Larkin or Elgin High.
I actually graduated from Hinsdale High, and I moved to Elgin. As soon as I graduated, I moved out of the house because I knew everything, and I can do everything better than my parents.
Right.
So I moved in with a friend of mine, and we were. I worked at.
Let me add you to the listeners. Hinsdale equals bougie. Elgin equals struggling.
Yes.
But go on.
It does. I was kind of a really a fish out of water when I was in Hinsdale, but I made a bunch of friends, and they were in Elgin, so I ended up working in Mancuso Honda.
Oh, no way!
Yes. I worked there for a long time, and I just like, it's $5 an hour.
Yep.
$5 an hour, man. So I was like, I'm going to join.
What graduate from Hinsdale?
87.
Okay. No, so like, I know the listeners have got to be so lost right now. So Elgin is the big town when you're driving down 90 towards Rockford. It's basically in the middle between Chicago and Rockford. That's the town everyone uses. And the next town down I-90 is this tiny little town called West Dundee, which is where I grew up. So I'm going to really try not to like make this, Midwestern, Northwestern suburbs of Chicago, Illinois geek out. But
Chicago episode.
But he's talking about like the Mancuso Honda dealers. That place is like infamous. Okay, like it's it's not quite privates going to buy their first car, but it's kind of close for that area. And I was just like, oh, this is so cool, dude. Like we are gonna have to like get a bourbon offline and just chop it up about all of that.
Hell yeah, anytime. So Illinois, and you joined out of Illinois. Illinois's got some great veterans benefits, especially for education. They got some spectacular benefits. I
got a standing ovation when I was the commencement speaker at the University of Illinois for my graduation from my college. When I said that, when I told everyone that they paid for my my degree, it was awesome. I'm like, yes, and I came here because you paid for my degree on the GI Bill, because this was before the post 9/11 GI Bill. So Illinois, Washington State, and Texas would pay for state schooling.
Yes.
And so I'm literally like, I'm making fun of all the people in the audience. I'm like, yeah, you paid for my education and for me to get drunk, and like they're standing up and clapping. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, came out of there, and then after I graduated, I met Nick my senior year of college, and I helped him found Ranger Up, the lifestyle apparel company, and did that for almost 9 years, and then bounced around a little bit. Met Dan when I was an infantry combat tactic instructor in the National Guard, teaching OCS candidates. He was much better at it than I am. Trust me, he'll tell you all about it because I was too angry. And it was fun. You know, I had sort of done a little bit. I took a mini retirement, traveled all the way around the world with nothing but a backpack, and then I had done a podcast. And right when Beau and him were starting this project, and suddenly he calls me and he's like, hey, I heard your podcast. I'm like, wow, you're one of like 100 people. Thanks, man. And he's like, it really hit something with me. I started talking. He's like, so I've got this idea. Okay. He's like, I want to tell these veteran stories we want to put in the book called The 20-Year War, and which was Beau and him, because I'm kind of like the marketing, like sales insano case. But this is like, ooh, that's good. That's really sticky, man. Like that's going to move some units, right? He's like, yeah, I think it will. I'm like, definitely. He's like, then so I'm like, so what do you need? He's like, well, I need your little black book. Like, I need all these contacts from Ranger Up. I need, we need some help, like, getting veterans into this. We want to tell as many stories as we can. I got so excited. I mean, like, just like for the first time in 4 or 5 years since Range 15, like, there was a project that really spoke to me that I'm like, all right, yeah, we're going to do this. So I bang out the first email. It was to Bill Butler, who is the chief of staff for General Farrader at the National Veterans Memorial Museum. I'm like, Bill, you got to check these guys out. They need some people, like, help them out. I'm so excited I didn't even put a subject line in the email. So Dan CC'd on it, and like 2 minutes later, he's like, dude, I appreciate it, but they don't know what you just said. And he barely sent me this like email, like, what are you doing? And then Bill responds right away with, like, yeah, happy to help. And then he's like, hits me up on the side, like, by the way, you had no subject line. I'm like, thanks. The next email I sent out, I made sure I had a subject line, and I was really careful about it. And that was a General Votel. He introduced us to a ton of people, and then he's like, hey, I'll write the foreword. Which is a surreal experience when you were a specialist or a buck sergeant working for that man who turns into a 4-star general, and he's like, yeah, let me help. And he actually sent Dan and I a wonderful note for an interview we did the other day, which I about passed out for. So I'm still pinching myself.
And I think that's pretty cool because I'm not saying a lot of times, but sometimes it's like, hey, will you write the foreword for this? And then you get this volunteer from a 4-star saying, I'm going to do this.
Honestly, I can tell you this has been the craziest from my time in Ranger Up, doing Range 15, all this content. And I tell these guys all the time, I'm like, a project is never going to get better than what we're doing right now with the 20-Year War. No one has said no. A couple of people have said, hey, if we can do it at time X or day Y, because I have something else coming up and it didn't work out, that's the worst we've ever had. No one has said no.
That's not horrible even.
No.
I mean, folks are busy and they're doing stuff, man, but you've got a great project going on here, and I can't wait to get the book.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. By the way, for the people who are watching this is the coin.
That'd be hard to see.
But hold on.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. What's the backside?
What's the backside? It might not focus. But
USA.
It's basically like the IR flag was kind of what we were going for. And then it says the Global War on Terrorism at the top. and then it has the years at the bottom. I know you can't really make that out.
It has your limited edition.
And then
number
it's
to match
this
book.
limited edition number at the bottom will match the book. And then my sister owns a leatherworking business, and she made a bunch of leather patches that say the 20-year war on it. I know it's kind of hard to make out, but they're all handmade in America. So
That's really badass, man.
We had fun with it.
yeah.
So Dan, tell me a little bit about yourself. 8-year veteran, Army Ranger, 6 deployments.
Just a few.
That's like you went to basic and then, some extra training and then you went to the stand.
Yeah, I mean that's typically how it happens in special operations, specifically in Ranger Regiment. They've been consistently deployed since October 2001.
Yeah.
Somewhere in support of the global war on terrorism. So there's 3 battalions, and they rotate typically every 3 to 6 months. And so the entire time I was there, it was either trainer deploy, and did that for 6 years. And then the 2 additional years was actually when I met Tom in the National Guard. But yeah, I have a crazy, funny story of how I enlisted. So originally, I wasn't going to join the military at all. My dad was in the Air Force for 21 years. I was like, "There's no way I'm joining. I don't want that life. I'm not about that life." And then I moved to Yucca Valley, which is where Beau is from, and Beau can attest to this. It's not a great place to grow up.
Well, you guys knew each other as kids.
Yeah, we've
since we were 5.
Yeah, since he was 5, I was 6. He lived 2 doors down from my grandparents. So like every summer we would hang out.
Anyone listening that is a Marine that knows 29 Palms Marine Base, we grew up in that shithole.
Yeah. So I finally moved there in high school, and I was like, all right, I got to get out of here. I got to do something. So I actually took night classes to graduate high school early. And I was joining the military. I was 17 at the time. Obviously, I had to get my parents to bless off on it. And my mom said, all right, I'll sign for you to join the military, but the only way you're doing it is if it's not a dangerous job. And I said, okay, that's yeah. So I told the recruiter, I was like, yeah. I told the recruiter that I wanted to do something that was exciting, but I didn't want to, be directly in combat. And so he said, okay, well, he was trying to sell me on all kinds of jobs, just like any other recruiter does. Mm-hmm. But eventually we landed on parachute rigger because he was like, at least you can jump out of airplanes, which is exciting, but you won't be directly in combat. And I said, that sounds great. So I went through the whole in processing. I was in the delayed entry program, went the day to sign my contract, a day before you ship out, basically. Yeah. And I remember sitting in front of this major, and he's like, hey, son, I don't know what to tell you, but this parachute rigger job is no longer available. And I said, uh-oh, okay. Well, what do I do? And he said, well, you can pick another job that's on here, and, we could start going through the list. And I said, well, I know there was another airborne job on there. I'll just take that one. And he kind of looked at the list, and he looks at me sideways. He's like, airborne ranger? And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And I'm just too dumb and I guess too hard-headed to quit anything. So the second that I committed to it, I knew that that's what I was going to do. I did a bunch of research between then and when I got to, Ranger Regiment, and still didn't know what I was getting myself into. I actually didn't tell my mom exactly what I did for my first 3 combat rotations because
my gosh.
Every time I would come back, she was like, oh, I know you were overseas. How did it go? And stuff. I was like, oh, safe. We didn't do anything really. It was boring and stuff.
I sat behind a computer all day.
Little did she know I was kicking indoors every night and running 2 to 4 missions every day that I was overseas. And yeah, she it was a little bit of a shock once I finally broke a little bit of it to her. But it's funny because now that we have our podcast, I talk about it a lot more. And she's like, I've learned more about your combat experience since you launched that podcast than I did the entire time you were serving.
Well, it's good because she's a listener.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because meanwhile, my great uncle, who actually recently passed away, was part of. Actually, I'm wearing the shirt in the MACV. He was part of the MACV SOG. He was an intel guy in Vietnam, and then all like the Central America stuff that Ollie North got rolled up for, he didn't get rolled up on. So. Shouts to my great uncle who just recently passed away, which is unfortunate. And Aunt Mary, if you're listening too, we're thinking about you. We love you. You're in our prayers. But I'm like, Uncle Ralph, he's the only person besides my grandfather, who's his brother, who's like thinks that me enlisting might even be a remotely close to a good idea. I'm like, I want to enlist. I want to do something. He's like, so what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to jump out of airplanes. I'm going to shoot automatic weapons and I'll blow shit up. He goes, Tommy, go be a Ranger. And after that, like, it was like straight. So it's like every time that Dan and I talk about this, I always laugh because he's like, oh yeah, whatever. And meanwhile, I'm like I'm gonna be that guy, like that guy who like barely made it through because the instructor's like, we know you're that asshole, so let's see if we can make you quit. But Dan and I both share a stubborn streak, so we both made it in our own way. But I always laugh when he tells that story.
So until now, I was unaware that you could just say Ranger. I want to be a Ranger. It was always like, okay, we're going to send you to infantry first. And then
Class 40 contract.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can get it. It's not, supposedly, according to recruiters, it's not easy to get, but you could definitely fight for one. They just try and put people in different positions. Obviously, the Ranger Regiment has their own recruiting standards. So they only have a certain number of slots. So of course, a recruiter is not going to advertise that you can get an option 40 contract. But anybody who wants to be a Ranger, go to your recruiter and say, I will not sign up through this office unless you show me an option 40 contract. And then if they say no, and if they say no, go to the next recruiter and say, I will not sign up through this office without getting an option 40 contract. And somebody will say yes.
Somebody's going to say yes.
Somebody's going to
They
say
got to
yes.
meet mission, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
They might be up all night doing paperwork and maybe waivers. Is that a waiver list type of a thing, or?
No, actually. So I got to MEPS, and at first, like, we don't have, like Dan's saying, like, we don't have your contract, Tom. But the senior recruiter had been my initial recruiter, tried to get me in on the delayed entry program before my parents shut that down, and I turned into a teenage wasteland. And so I walked into his office, and he's like, "Hang on, hey, yeah, Bob, I got a kid wants an option 40. No, yeah." I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to make it, but I don't think he's going to totally fuck it up. Hand of God, that's exactly what he said, by the way. Looks at me. When do you want to leave? Well, I got a girlfriend. Can I leave in September? Yeah, beginning of September. Thanks. Click. September 7th, you'll leave and don't fuck this up.
And you mentioned Teenage Wasteland. I can't imagine you with a mullet or long hair. So.
Oh, dude, I had Kurt Cobain hair, center part before, like, I went bald all the way down to, like, right here. Oh, I did. I absolutely did.
We've got some photos. Tom had hair in the early 2000s.
Is it in the book?
No.
Yes, he does, because we have his combat photos in there. So, yes, he has some photos.
That's the combat mullet. That's not what like, literally center part down to, like, here.
More
okay,
Dogtown style.
All feathered back behind my ears. I could, like, kind of put it like that man, little, like, quasi ponytail if I needed to. Oh my God, man! Yeah, that was absolutely me. The mid to late '90s.
Stacy, that's Tommy Peralta.
So, Beau, tell me a little bit about yourself. You're a photojournalist.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So tell me about your involvement with this awesome project.
To kind of not drag it on for too long, basically, I moved my life last year from California to North Carolina. I worked in fashion for about 12 years from LA to New York, and I just got burned out on it. And I wanted to do something that was a little bit more productive for myself, that was going to be helping others. And so I found out about this organization called Heroes and Horses, and it's based in Montana. And I do a lot of equine work, and I've done some equine therapy with people with horses and all that. And I found out that's what they were doing with veterans. And so I worked on a whole new collection of artworks, and it was featured on Fox News from a friend of mine, Emily, who's one of their main co-hosts. And from there, I was kind of like, this felt good. This is a project that I love doing, and I want to take my work and to figure out how I can help serve others. So when I moved to North Carolina, I basically told Dan that, hey, I want to work on this photo book of my landscapes and my artworks, but I want to donate, a big portion of it to veterans. And I think we just started kind of talking over different ideas, and Dan was like, I've been trying to find the reason, in a sense, to want to give back to the veteran community, and I feel like this is kind of my calling, and I think that we should do a veteran photo book instead. And it kind of just hit, and the more research we did, which wasn't much, but it was literally like last year we sped up and started thinking, we're like, man, 2021 is the 20-year anniversary. And we were already kind of talking with people, figuring out that, this war might come to an end next year. And so it was just the perfect title that surprisingly wasn't taken. And so we titled it The 20-Year War. And like Tom said, Tom came in shortly after because he had connections with Dan. And so that's how all three of us got together to work on the 20-year war.
And before Beau moves on too much, Beau is an incredible photographer. Like when you see some of his work, like go to his Instagram and everything, like look at his work. But then also when you finally get the book and you open it up, it's just so, I don't know, photos come alive in a certain sense. Like you can truly see a certain aspect of each person just by their photo. Mm-hmm. And what I really appreciate what Beau did is he really took the time to make sure that each photo was unique. And that it's, it speaks about each veteran. Mm-hmm. And, we talked about it before he hit the road to go, for his long road trip, multiple road trips. But before he hit the road that, we wanted to not be the like cliche photos, that we wanted, photos in their environment where people were going to be, at their house with their family, working, doing whatever they love, wherever they wanted to be. So that's why you'll see like the people everybody knows, like Tim Kennedy, he's in his gi though, and you could tell he's sweaty and messy, and just like that's him post workout.
I think he looks like that all the time.
Oh, totally.
He does. That's not the photos you see of him.
No, you see like the high quality, like polished photos, studio type stuff, and that's I think what Dan's, getting to is I want to make sure that everything was raw. I'm shooting on film. I'm still an old man at heart. And I appreciate medium format and large format.
That is old school, and that's a lost art. It really is a lost art.
I shot all my fashion work in film. I did like Super 8 and Super 16 millimeter video stuff for clients. And so I've just fallen in love with the tangible side of film. And so, you only have a couple shots to work with. And I want to make sure that I really capture these veterans raw and organic. And most of the time, they're used to photographers that are bursting thousands of photos that take up half their day. I think I took like 2 to 3 photos of each veteran and was like, all right, cool. Like we're done. And they're like, what? That was it? Like, wow. How do you know you got it?
That's amazing. That is amazing.
But it was a lot of fun.
Everything is, go ahead.
Humbled. He's world class. It's fun. Like I'm the loud, annoying ranger. It's the Italian in me. Dan's the quiet, good ranger because, he got promoted when I didn't because he's better at the job than I was. Beau is like super humble and like super all the humility, and it's like you look at his work and Beau has one of those jobs where 90% of the people in the world think they can do it, right? Oh, I can be a photographer. Oh, I shot this one wedding or whatever, and he is truly a world-class photographer, and it was such an honor to work with him. And he would also get the audio files that he would send to me to type up. And
interviews, from the interviews.
Yeah, so it was fun. It was really fun, and
that was quite a
1,000 miles.
A little over 16,000 miles, 42 states in a matter of 2.5 months. I crossed the country 4 times. Yeah, and like Tom said, I mean, not to string it on too long again, but that was pretty chaotic. Driving all across the United States and calling Dan saying, hey, I'm meeting up with this veteran at this time. Here's the audio file, Tom. Tom's immediately like writing in like some like just worn down bar all night long, or in like a dingy motel room. Like he was just typing away all day long.
In fairness, it was not a worn down bar. It was the Embassy Suites hotel bar in La Vista, Nebraska, because I had just accepted a job. I'd been living in Chicago, I'd been living in Lakeview. So I was basically living a consultant lifestyle. So I'd fly into Omaha for 4 days, stay at the embassy, and then fly back for the weekend as I was getting like transition to move, which is where I'm at right now, is in Omaha. And seriously, dude, shouts to Sherry at the Embassy Suites for those heavy, heavy house Cabernet pours, because she'd see me come down with my headphones like around my neck and my computer, and she'd be like, working again today, huh, honey? I'm like, yes, ma'am, I am. And like, it was like, a full 16-ounce solo cup full of like cab. Well, if you need another one, hon, let me know. And I'm like, thank you, ma'am. And like, 5-6 stories later, what they say, like, write drunk, edit sober. Well, fortunately I had an editor. Trevor was amazing. So I'm like, Trevor, here's 5, here's the stories. And, Lord knows what he had to do to remember me by the end of those classes.
Write drunk, edit sober.
Oh yeah.
That's in the Ranger Handbook, I think, way in the back.
But is it I can't. It might be the Dead Reckoning Collective, the veteran writing and poetry group, but I think they actually have a shirt that says "Write Drunk, Edit Sober."
Yeah,
I can't them or someone else, but it's awesome.
Havoc Journal too. If you go on
Is it
their website, yeah, I think it's Havoc Journal on their main thing. But
so, Beau, in a million years, did you ever think that you're going to be shooting fashion models and then transitioning into this?
No, to be honest. And I've had enough time to really think about it. And I'm in a good space now to where I just want to help other photographers and other artists. I mean, I've mentioned it probably a dozen times that hopefully in the near future, I'd even like to do like some kind of photo workshop for veterans that are, looking to be photographers in some capacity. But, the thing is that comes with fashion is you kind of get locked up into that environment.
It does seem like you're going to be a fashion photographer and you're good at it, but it's like the same thing every day.
That's what it is. There's no story behind it. There's no substance. I mean, people listening are like, oh, this guy's bitching that you had to shoot hot girls. Granted, yeah, that can get old too real fast. But I mean, it's kind of like the money's good, but you are who you surround yourself with. So I just started seeing myself slowly eroding over time. The character of who I was bred to be by my mother and father. And
it's your internal drive, your motivation.
Exactly. And that was starting to shed over time. And I just realized that I want to do something more impactful for people.
Hey, just real quick, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but we've got a crazy thunderstorm that just came on top of us.
That sounds awesome.
So if we lose you for whatever reason, this is why.
I heard, I can hear the thunder. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love thunderstorms.
Pretty good.
Hopefully it's not too bad for listeners, but we are in the Carolinas and it's hurricane season.
I'm going to tell on Beau a little bit because I want to be really clear. She's a lovely, amazing human being. But he is dating a model, like,
you got to make contacts, right?
He found like the good one, like the non-crappy model, but he is in fact dating like the really smart, really empathetic, super sweet model. So I don't want him to pretend like it didn't wear off or something. Like, yeah.
Tom taught me. I try to speak humbly, and it bit me in the ass.
She's amazing. Like she's a genuinely wonderful, salt of the earth human being. But it's like he's talking about this, and I'm like, bruh, like you went across the nation with her, like shooting all these. Like don't act like some of this didn't rip off.
That's true.
So when you gather these this huge pool of veterans that are sharing their stories, was there? I'm certain there's more than 71. 71 are in the book.
No, they all made it.
Everyone just
didn't cut anybody out.
So here was the big thing behind this was a few things were working with us that we wanted to make sure that we're diligent in this. Is we didn't want to tell the stories of all the famous veterans. We didn't want to tell the stories of the typical stories you've heard of.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to, we have a few big names in our book. Tim Kennedy, Vince Vargas, Nate Boyer, J.C. Glick, Jason Van Camp, those types, Tanya Oxendine, like some names that are getting kind of big in the veteran space. But we have others, the remainder really, that you've never heard of, that you would have no idea who they are. But we have everything from let's see, lieutenant generals. Yeah, 3-star general, all the way down to I think the lowest ranking is a specialist. And we've really mixed up, the different branches of service, lengths and grades. We have people from all different, times in service, whether they were at the beginning of the war, later in the war. I mean, the latest person we have in this book literally got back from their last deployment December of 2020. Yeah, so I mean, we've got full spread, and it was crazy because we thought, once we started this project, we're going to have 2, 3, 4 stories that are going to be exactly the same. And then we were going to have to go through that process where we're going to have to be like, okay, are we actually going to keep this story? Are we going to get rid of it? Break the news to whatever veteran. But the incredible the incredible part of this was every story is truly unique. Mm-hmm. And I what's crazy about it is we even asked the same line of questioning for the most part, and every single veteran was completely different.
Yeah.
There were some that were maybe on a similar thread, but we specifically asked one question too of like what's one life mantra or one thing that you try to live by, And it's incredible to see throughout the book. You're going to see 71 unique responses to that.
To the same question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We had a list of about 15 questions that I would maybe skip one or two here and there. But I mean, like Dan said, it was pretty incredible that everybody was so different.
Well, and even the veterans that most people know, and Tim Kennedy, just because you mentioned you know him. So I know Tim really well. Tim was in my wedding party. She's no longer with us, thank God. But, you know, that was my mistake. His. And so, like, you know, he was one of my partners at Ranger Up. He's down there with Nick right now. I know Tim really, really well. I listened to about the first, Dan, like 90 seconds of that interview. And I immediately pick up the phone and I call Dan and I'm like, can I use this? He's like, what? I'm like, what? How did you get this out of Tim? Where did this come from? Because some of the stories that were there were things that we, like, his friends knew about him. But, you know, Tim Kennedy has a very robust public profile. He is very, you know, he has people around him. I mean, his agents from CAA, which is the premier talent agency in the United States. Like, he has, I'm not going to say handlers, but people that always are making sure that his image is protected. And I'm like, dude, like, he just said this. And Dan's like, yeah, what's the big deal? And so I immediately called Justin Lakin, who's his business manager and is also featured in the book. He's also Green Beret. I'm like, Justin, like, and I've known Justin for years. I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to, like, can we? And he's like, dude, Tim said it. He's good with it. It's incredible. And then we were sitting around Vince Vargas's, you know, kitchen table with his family all in the background, hanging out in Utah. And Vince's story is the same way. It's like, again, like, I've known Vince for a while when he was at Art 15, when we did the movie Range 15 together. Like, he's not unfamiliar to me. Like, he's someone I considered a friend. And yes, Beau, you can tell the story about me being a dumbass on that one in a minute, because I'm where the hell. But, like, even these people that you think you know, even these people that have public profiles that you see around there, like, there is something in these stories that, and I honestly don't know what compelled them to do this. I really don't, because I consider both of them my friends. But they were compelled to be so authentic and so deep into who they are and away from their personas in ways that I have not seen on some levels public facing. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. There's a side to both of them that you haven't seen, that they allowed us access to in this book, and I'm so grateful. But that's the entire narrative of the book, whether you know who these people are or whether you don't. That's the authenticity they bring to this project. And none of them said no. It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible. It is such a true look at. We want to tell authentic veteran stories. We want to say this is who the American veteran is, and all the vets that are in this book really bought into that mission and really believed it, and were really, truly, this is who I am, and I'm prepared to let Beau capture that on film in these incredible portraits, and let me tell that story, and say this is who I am. And it's. I get chills sometimes. It's amazing, because especially with someone like Tim, who has, like, people will be really surprised. They're going to go, no way. Like, really, that's Tim Kennedy is. And it actually is. It's incredible.
I think it's great that you had so much participation. Did you put like a shout out? Hey, tell me your stories.
No.
Or was it like a small conversation of like, hey, if you know anybody.
Yeah. That's kind of how it went.
Yeah, it was all organic, very word of mouth. Just, you know, like Tom initially opened his little black book, and then I had obviously some people that I had served with as well. But then Beau kind of planned out his trip, and it was very much along the lines of, okay, we know what route he needs to take. Mm-hmm. Yes, we could take small detours, but for the most part, we have the route.
Yeah.
So just word of mouth. We said, here's our route. Do you know somebody who's along this that you think has a really good story that we should tell? And it was always just like the next phone number, and it was the next person to call and try and coordinate it. And people took, I mean, it was awesome. I don't know. I guess you could tell the side of it, but people took time out of their day to like make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, we planned this on the road. It was not an easy, like, detailed list. Mm-hmm. Like a month before I went, it was literally 3 days before I left. We literally looked at the list, and my goal was to try and have at least 30 veterans for a road trip that was going to last over a month. Mm-hmm. And for this first road trip that I did, and we had 5 people.
Yep. And
I was like, it's not that it's not worth it, but to cross the country for a whole month, when we have to have this book done in like 3 months from now, I don't know if it's realistic. We might as well focus on the East Coast and then see what we can do out west. And then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go on the road. We've got like 7 or 8 people now the last day.
That's
exactly.
right. Oh boy, I've got a patch that says exactly that.
Yeah. And basically I was like, fuck it, we'll do it live. And I got in the car, packed up my tent, everything that I lived out of for a little while, drove north, which you shouldn't do in the winter. Got up to Houghton, Michigan was the furthest north I went. It was like -18. And I think along that whole road trip that I did for that month, we ended up having about 36, 37 veterans. So each day that was going on, I was getting calls on my cell saying, hey, I'm here in Texas. I'm here in California. Where are you? I'm here in Colorado. And I think there was only one person that I missed. And it was one person in Illinois, and I already gone through there like 3 or 4 days prior to that.
Yeah. Again, it was crazy, like, because after he went to Michigan, oh, there it is. Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think what we're going to find after 20 years of combat is that, this will be the next greatest generation. That 20 years of experience in fighting overseas has really shaped a lot of lives, good or bad, but what we have gained is experience. And it's experience of being leaders, of working with teams, of making critical decisions at important times, at being able to form and shape decisions that are really going to impact a lot of people. I mean, the amount of stuff, everything going on in Afghanistan right now, the one thing that's come out of it that's really, really gotten me inspired lately is how many veterans have come together to make stuff happen overseas. How many veterans have come together to call all their brothers and sisters that have some form of connection to Afghanistan, whether it's the airlines, it's the intelligence agencies, it's the NGOs, it's the people with deep pockets, it's the people on the ground, it's the previous interpreters, everything. Being able to organize all of that together and be able to get people out, like, it's so powerful and crazy, and it's happening before our eyes, and I hope that story gets told.
I read a story about a man in Colorado, a Green Beret, who was like a friend of the wife of somebody who had people that were in Kabul or near Kabul. And I don't know what the hell he did, but these people that were in concern are out. They're gone. It's just, and what came to my mind was like, this isn't the only one. There's got to be. I mean, State Department says we don't know how many people are there, how many Americans are there, but no one's going to say, okay, there's 10,000, there's 1,000, there's 200. Who knows?
One is enough.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'll give you a crazy story about a pair of Afghan twins. So a friend of mine who was in the British Army Reserves, Jules, one of her friends knew a family that half of them got to the United Kingdom, the other half didn't. And the reason for all this, why the Taliban wants the family dead, is because the mother in the family had the audacity to teach school to elementary school girls. So reading, writing, arithmetic, the basics of the world. She had the audacity to do that. So they're like, we're going to get you. No. But they're trying at least. The family boogied, and they ended up in Kabul. And these two twins were being hidden by someone. And let's not mince words here. A lot of the propaganda of the Taliban saying that they are tolerant is not the case. They're looking actively.
Oh, they are.
And so between my friend, who's the Brit, who's like, hey, is there anything that you can do? And then a mutual friend of Dan and I's, who is very, very involved and very, very committed. And one of the, I'm not going to blow him up because he's still got a top secret security clearance, if you can read between the lines on that. So let's just leave that where it is. Was like, hey, send me all the information. And so we did. And now the British government has taken over, and they're working to actively get these two 15-year-olds out of the country and into the United Kingdom. Like, that's when you think about it, that's a crazy thing. That is not a government. That is people committed to helping other people. And Dan and I have been, raging against the current administration machine about all the things we think are wrong, and that's not what I'm going to do tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But to Dan's point, the veteran network is so strong, and the veteran network is so compassionate and is so giving. And I am literally in my office in tears at like 3:30 Central, because my friend's just pouring her heart out to me and is telling me like how scared she is and how this family has no idea how to even reach them. All they have is a phone number. And an hour before I got on here, I get a response back from the British government telling me they're looking into it and they're working to try and make it right. And, they're not 100% out yet. There's still something that could happen, but that's the power of this group of people. That's the power of this network. That's the power. We've been talking about the book and all the veterans in it, because even if they're not trying to get Afghans out of Kabul, or like every single person in our book, one of the other themes is they're trying to make the United States and the world a better place. They really are. And that's what was so exciting about the project to me. That was so great, because, when Dan and I first started talking, and I've told him this, especially having been at Ranger Up and done Range 15, and I had sworn at one point I was never going back into content creation in the veteran space again. I was the F up out of that.
It's tough.
And Dan starts telling me about the project, and I'm like, all right, I like this. Yeah, tell me more. And suddenly I'm so excited, and I'm so like, whoa, what are we doing, right? Like, let's go. And I think that's the power of authenticity, and I think that as the war is going on, and we've gotten older, and now people like me that first started in Afghanistan are crusty and 40 or better and old. I think that's
seasoned.
Seasoned, yes.
Experienced.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Seasoned.
Yeah.
So we have this entire last week has been just a shit show of what Afghanistan has become.
Yeah.
And for the first hour, I talked about, I gave like a lineage of the events that happened kind of from the July timeframe to present. Do you guys have any personal opinions about this? I work with a lot of military folks, just in the aviation industry. We just, I was an aviation mechanic or whatever. So we have a discussion, and it's just like, they spent 1 or 2 or 3 tours over there. I was a civilian. I was a contractor over in Iraq, and it really sucks for me, but it hasn't hit me as hard as some of the Afghanistan veterans. Do you guys have any personal opinions on this?
Let me go first, because Tom will.
No, I am so glad. I was gotta go first, because the Italian's gonna come out in me.
Yeah. This is what I've been saying for a while is, the frustration and everything that's in the veteran community is obviously understandable. What I am glad has shifted almost immediately within the first few days. People were talking about how this was the next Vietnam, that this was the next fall of Saigon. And there was initially kind of a starting a trickle of conversations in the fringe of the internets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is that it was blaming on the veteran. And I was like, there's no way. Absolutely not. And so I went on, and that was one of the first things that I said on one of our media engagements this weekend, is this will not be the veterans Vietnam. This is not the modern veterans Vietnam. This is never going to fall back on a veteran. This is going to fall on the 4 administrations that have strung this war on this long. And it will not be a stain on anybody who served in the global war on terror.
Mm-hmm. I was asked by some civilian engineers that I work with, so who do you blame for this? I'm like, there's not one person you can point the finger at. I mean, no. It's a Bush Cheney, it's an Obama Biden, it's everybody, it's everybody, it's everybody.
Yep.
And
It is.
the DOD wants to call the shots, but then the State Department comes in and says, no, we're going to call the shots. And then just shit gets fucked up.
No, so in the military, especially in the Ranger Regiment, there's this guy that we all know, and it's JoJo, and he's the duck. And if you're JoJo the duck, you're all fucked up, right? Like everybody can wear JoJo right now in the administrations. I'm going to try and keep this as civil and as calm as I can because Dan has heard me go off 3 or 4 times and he's probably sick of it.
He told me that he doesn't think that you can go off. And I said, yeah, he can.
I don't
I'll
feel good.
bring it. I was trying to be like, oh, it's late at night. Like so here's, all right, fine. Well, fuck it. We'll do it live. All right. Like we said it. Here we go. Let's start here. First and foremost, this administration has said that they don't want a 5th president to have to deal with Afghanistan, even though we're dealing with the organization that resourced, empowered, and sheltered Osama bin Laden, who had the worst terrorist attack in American history, and we're going to give the country back to them. Okay, that's just fucking stupid to begin with in table stakes. Never mind anything else, okay? Then he criticizes the former administration about this peace deal that they signed, which, to be fair, because we're talking about everyone, the Trump administration trying to negotiate peace with just the Taliban would be like me going into the Middle Eastern peace process. And again, folks, my degree is in political science, the focus on international relations. So this is like the book geek in me. Like, this is what I did. It would be like going in to solve Middle Eastern peace, but only talking to the Palestinians and not the Israelis. Like, it was fucking stupid and dead on arrival to begin with. And I don't even need to get super technical. Everyone understands it. So we got a bad deal that you're going to be wrote and stick to, even though you can renegotiate it because you're the president of the United States. So that already sucks. Then in July, you're going to leave. You're going to order General Miller out of Bagram literally in the middle of the night with no coordination and no handoff with our Afghan allies. So you think we couldn't use an airfield right now when we've got to get anywhere between 90,000 and about 65,000, depending on who you're talking to, of Americans and Afghans with SIV visas and their families out? You think 2 extra, runways that can handle C-17s or 747s wouldn't be handy? Pretty sure they would be.
So I don't mean to interrupt, but I heard Dan Crenshaw say that Bagram was supposed to be one of those bases that was supposed to be open.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
In the dark of night, 2 o'clock in the morning, gone. Poof.
We left. And
we took the keys for all the vehicles too.
Yep. So all right. So here's my favorite question. Like when I get a little bit of a long form like this, I want to ask: between 2014 and 2020, and the source of this information is the Brookings Institute, which is arguably the most apolitical par excellence for a think tank that does statistics and everything in this world. Between 2014 and 2020, can you tell me how many Afghan National Army and Afghan National Police are estimated to have died? Not you, you've heard me do this, Dan. Have died in service of the nation of Afghanistan?
Are you asking me? I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm trying to fathom it.
45,000. Against roughly 2,500 Americans for the entire length of the war. So they have a 2,000% increase of casualties, and our administration right now has the fucking audacity to say that these men don't have the will to fight. So a fellow Ranger between Dan and I from 2nd Ranger Battalion also, who does brilliant, wonderful work, and if you ever get a chance to get him on, you absolutely should jump at it, Marty Scoveland, was embedded with the Afghan Special Operations Forces a couple of years ago. And he's walking around with his translator, his interpreter, and watching these guys, and he noticed that none of them have their boots bloused. They're all just hanging out, kind of on their feet or whatever. And the first day it kind of bothers him. And after a while, finally looks at his turf. He's like, dude, the boots, what in the hell is going on? And he's like, oh, we don't lace them up until we're sure we're going on our mission. It's like, why?
How do you know?
And he's like, why? And so he goes, because when they go home every night, they don't want the indents of the eyelets from their boots. Everyone who's ever put those on and cinched them up tight has had those indents. to give them away to the Taliban in their towns and get them killed. This is the level of attention to detail that the Afghan National Army SOF organization has. This is the level of commitment that they have, knowing that if they cinch their boots up too tight for too long, it might get them killed, but they're committed to the mission anyway. So, especially because you're talking about having worked with air crews and having worked with the mechanics, I mean, you understand better than most people the importance of the logistical supply chain that we were providing the Afghans. That all of their air, all of their POL, all of their maintenance, all of the everything, that's what America was doing for them. So we leave in the middle of the night, we abandon them, we pull the rug out of that logistical support for them, the overhead air cover, their ability to fight effectively, and then the Taliban, which credit to them, as much as I hate it, really looked at the battlefield and said, well, if we suck up all the small provinces down in the south by us, we start creating mass, we get Herat, we get Jalalabad, and suddenly we start dealing with these tribes there and say, hey, we'll kill you, or you can just lay the arms down. Well, of course it happened like this. That's the worst case scenario. And the problem with this administration to the nth is that every military member, and I know you can relate to this too, best case, most likely case, worst case scenario. That's how we're taught to think. That's how we're taught to plan. And no one considered the worst case. And because we didn't consider the worst case, now we're in the worst case, which is the most abhorrent thing on earth, and that is the State Department and the Department of Defense, as of 7 hours ago, when the last time I checked, are still saying, get to Kabul. We cannot guarantee we can pick you up. Now, I saw that memo. Now, I have heard through the grapevine that Dan and I are part of is that there are heavy lift MH-47s now in country that are flying sorties. They also have little birds on scene, basically just grab up like onesie, twosie HVTs, like drop them, grab them, fly them out. I heard that, Dan, like an hour and a half ago, and I heard it from someone in the Department of Homeland Security, so I believe them. So we are slowly starting to do this. But my question is, why wasn't this in place to begin with? Why did we not have? Because we had Dan and I had a news hit, and the guy was talking about Blackhawks, and I'm like, well, don't take this the wrong way, but you're showing your ignorance on Afghanistan, because at this time of the year, Blackhawk's half useless because it doesn't get the airlift.
The altitude is horrible.
Yeah. Plus the hot weather and the heat, so they're not getting the rotary lift. So great, fly one from Kabul to Herat, you're going to pick up 2 people. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just like, this is the lack of understanding that people have, and this is the thing you plan for. This is the thing that people who have been there, like all of us that are in the know, that are like, you couldn't even fly an MH-53 right now and get more than 5 or 6 people.
We get some Ospreys in there. They can do the job.
Ospreys are great. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, you have this limited lift platform. You have these limited capabilities that can go in there and actually do the job. And anyone who's been there understands that. And yet this administration is like, no, I haven't failed. And no, there's nothing we could do. And this was always going to end badly. And let's even for a moment assume this wasn't going to end well. Just for 1 second. Let's say it's not going to quote unquote end well. If you know that, if you think that that's a possibility, if that's what you're telling us, then don't you put all the things in place to minimize that before you start trying to do this? Like you said, where are the Ospreys? Where are as many 47s as we can put in that country without degrading American capability to get people back? 7,500 to 10,000 Americans have no way to get back right now, and we don't know how to get them. And the number one function, putting on my political science hat right now because that's my degree, the number one function of any government is to take care of and protect its citizens. And we just flip the double bird of the State Department, our diplomats, and the Department of Defense, our military, our sword, the double bird to American citizens, and say, well, you have no training, you have no resources, you have nothing like what we do, but fuck it, hope you can do it live.
From what I saw it was like, hey, get to Kabul. Yes. We can't guarantee your safe passage to Kabul, but if you get here, we can get you out.
Maybe
for until we can't. I guess is what the memo said.
And even in his last press conference today, President Biden said, "I can't promise your safety. Things might happen." fuck you, dude.
Make it not happen.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Send in Rangers, send in whoever.
It's like you're planning for failure.
I mean, Marcus Luttrell said it on Sean Hannity last night, and it's like I tried to avoid this until he said it. So I'm like, no, we've really gotten to this point. The 75th Ranger Regiment is literally made for this mission.
Yes.
Dan and I jump into an airfield, jump into Bagram, wreck shit, and then be like, come and take it if you're dumb enough to try. That's what I mean. Dan, how many times did you do an airfield seizure training mission? Like, how many times have we done that in our lives? Like, this is what we do, man.
In 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're trained for. That's what everything's meant for. And that I loved, you know what, I give Marcus Luttrell a lot of credit because I loved how he said it too. Is like the one contingency plan that you have for when something like this happens, there's one page and one sentence written on it. And it is a crest and in gold lettering says 75th Ranger Regiment. That's how he said it on Hannity, and I was like, all right, that's pretty good.
It's like, this is the other thing, is that when the Navy SEALs are giving us as the Rangers credit and being like, go send them, like...
That's what you do best.
Yeah. And then once we're on the ground for that unit, and it's like, we're a direct raid force, and it's just that this notion of we don't have, like, is this administration keeps saying, oh, we don't have the tools, we don't have whatever. You want to know what? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. This is what we're fucking bred for, man. Like, I mean, this is, it's break glass. Like, and I heard from.
Let it get to the level of the Expendables. I mean, I can't tell you the number of like former soft guys or even like current or whatever who are literally posting like, just give us the go ahead, give us a bird and a written agreement that we can go get people out and we'll be the fucking Expendables. We'll go do it because we know how.
Look, you got a ton of veterans. Because you mentioned it, you got Tim Kennedy. You've got a bunch of dudes that are all sending messages on Instagram like, I'll do it. I've been trying to sign up. Send me. Give me the green light. I'll go.
And some of them are already there. So a friend of Tim and I's, Chad Robo, the Mighty Oaks Foundation, he's already there right now trying to get these people out. He's super committed to it. He's been there for a while. Like, this is what I don't. It blows my mind, and it's what I so don't understand this whole process, is that if we're going to accept the here I am, send me ethos that is the military and is the special operations community and is the veterans, we're all saying we're in. Let's do it. The Ranger Regiment is uniquely positioned for this, but at the end, and the other thing is that the Brits, the French, the Italians, I did an Italian press hit the other day, and the reporter is like, yeah, we're trying to get our people out too. The Germans, everybody over there is telling the Taliban the same thing. Our special operations guys are here. We're not going to screw with you if you don't screw with us. But if you're dumb enough to get in our way of repatriating our citizens, we're going to stack you up like fucking cordwood.
Do you think there's any truth to the one of our listeners here said that what if they start holding the prisoners in Guantanamo against the Americans that are still in Afghanistan? Let my people go type thing.
I mean, they already got 5 out of the Bergdahl thing, and they already busted everyone out of the prison that was just outside of Bagram, which, by the way, that was the other comical thing about today. ISIS isn't in Afghanistan. Hundreds of freaking ISIS and Al-Qaeda fighters that are battle hardened that were responsible for 9/11 just got broken out of prison. Fuck you, dude. Like, come on. Like, it doesn't even...
And I don't know if you saw it today, not to segue it too much, but the Taliban now has a special operations force. And they're wearing all white. They're wearing snow camo in the desert.
That's hilarious. I got to see this.
Look it up.
Easy targets there.
Of Taliban. And they just did a parade today honoring new special operations.
Now,
and they're all wearing like white beanies and white robes.
Well, it's because white is their flag.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can spot them real easily, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing, and Dan and I actually, for what we did in the National Guard, and this is actually one of the things that legitimately concerns me, all my heat and upsetness, they all have trigger discipline now.
All of a sudden.
They move in formation. They understand spacing from what you're watching in these videos. All the things that Dan and I have tried to beat into officers and enlisted to go from whatever in military occupation, especially they had in the Army, to infantry, all the things that we trained on these tight, short, condensed schedules, they're doing now. That's concerning because it means they've learned. I work in marketing and PR in the day job, and I'm listening to their press conferences going, like, literally I'm taking notes for, ooh, that's how I should pivot when someone asks me a hard question on the book, right? Like, this is their coach, they're well-trained. Like, that Zuckerberg redirect that their propaganda minister had 2 days ago was absolutely pinnacle. This is who they are, and they're snowing everybody over. And the one thing in their press conferences that I encourage every American listening to and understanding is that every time they're like, oh, we're going to respect women's rights, or we're not going to do, everything they always end it with is in accordance to Sharia law. Sharia law in 2001 meant you can't fly a kite. You're going to wear a burqa if you're a woman. If you look at another
dance.
Sharia.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look back on my notes, man. You have hit every point that I said in the first hour. Oh my gosh.
Man, Dan wound me up.
Going.
My challenge is trying to do this in like 6-minute hits now, like, and still like let him get it in to pimp the book because he's better at it than I am. But I'm so upset about it. Like, as one of the things I said when we did an interview with Fox, but I think it's perfect, and I said it really flippantly, but now it's a line that I use for everyone. When the gun geek in me and the book geek in me both think that you fucked up, you are really screwed. Like, when the ivory tower and the soldier are both like, this fucking sucks, who the fuck do you think you are? Is kind of the, like, I actually want to like pump the president right now full of like a whole bunch of truth serum and then like strap him down and like lock him down to the podium and make him ask questions. And the number one that I personally want to ask is, how the fuck did you think this was a good idea? And who the fuck do you think you are that you could get away with it? Like, and again, I've got so much smoke for the former president too. I've got problems with him for days. Like, this is not a partisan thing. This is a looking at what's going on the ground, looking at who we're with, and realizing this colossal failure of leadership, and we're not acting like America at the end of the day.
But with the past administration, they had a plan, and their thing was all DOD. It was DOD is going to orchestrate it, DOD is going to execute it, and then,
right.
Of course, like I said, elections have consequences, and shit changed. So now State Department's involved with the planning, and DOD is in charge with the execution, and that kind of threw a wrench into things.
It causes confusion, but I know enough people at State, and I've heard enough that really it boils down to the administration's policy of Americans will not leave the wire, right? You're not leaving the airbase. Up until literally today when he sent those 47s out. State Department, I've heard from 3 or 4 people over there. They're like, listen, we want to process all these SIVs. They're not going directly to the United States. They're going to UN refugee centers for a full debriefing all around the world. We just need the handcuffs off to cut the red tape to get them on these birds.
Right.
Okay, that's State Department saying it. Yeah, it's more confusing. Yes, it would be nice if you had a more centralized chain of command. I don't disagree. But what I'm hearing from all my friends and all my contacts across Homeland Security, across state, across DOD, they're all saying that it's like, we don't have guidance. We don't have leadership from the military, from the president, from anybody. And, especially because I'm lucky enough now to have been around, some flag officers and some things like that in my civilian career and stuff. And how Miley hasn't killed somebody again is amazing to me. His ability to throw political shade in that most proper way when he's asked a question and he just goes, well, that's a policy decision. I want to know what he's saying in the background. Like, I really do. He's another guy I want to pump full of truth serum because that is like classic officer, like flag level. Don't fucking ask me. I've been told to shut the fuck up. Right? Like, that's like classic officer shade. Like, so I'm not here to. He's done some dumb stuff that I don't like. I'd love to hear an answer for, but I'm not crucifying him the way I'm going to crucify the administration because.
But what about his statement? Like, we didn't see this coming.
I think that. The other part that I've heard is that he's ready to fall on the sword and announce his resignation to save Austin and to save the embarrassment and do the Potomac two-step a little bit, and that's what I think that.
Yeah.
Like, it's unfortunate I don't like it, but even Mattis, the way that he retired and the way that he penned his letter and he announced his resignation, and I've heard from many people he was so infuriated with the previous administration with the Kurds. Like, there is just this sort of like ritualistic suicide that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs or the head of the DOD will perform to protect the administration that I don't like, that I feel like my criticisms for Miley more or less live in that regard, knowing that at some point he's going to do that with this debacle, which is sad because I think he's a far more honest broker than most of them. But that's kind of how I see it. And I want to go. That's just me personally. Like, I don't have any insider information on any of that other than what I've read in the news. But that's what I think.
It's like, how did you not see it coming? It's like,
right.
You might as well phone a banner that said free toys.
Here's my big issue with the plan the entire time is like there was never a line in the sand. There was never if they get to this point, we're gonna come in, we're gonna stop them, we're gonna halt our withdrawal. We gave so many concessions to the Taliban, yet we never gave counter concessions or counter agreements that we were going to, hey, if you try and take over the government before we hit our deadline of when we're supposed to be out, August 31st, then we're going to come back in, or then we're going to make a presence. They never said anything like that. And that's the frustrating part. And I think that's why the Taliban were so quick to swiftly move in. And
they've been moving since May. They've been taking over shit since May.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, they've been smart about it.
They have been. And here's the other thing about that, Dan, just because you're also a project management geek like I am, and I hope I don't bore the listeners on this, but the Pentagon said that they got 3,000 people out yesterday. Okay, Biden pronounced that too. They said they think their max capacity to get people out is 6,000. They want this done in the next 11 days, which represents 66,000 individuals if they can max out their capacity, which is seriously in question since they can only do half of it right now, right? That would mean that we're still leaving, depending on whose number you believe, anywhere from 9,000 to roughly 20,000 Americans or Afghans who have fought next to us who are eligible for an SIV visa or their family on that timeline. Like, even if we max it out, we still can't get all these people out. And the administration is just shrugging their shoulders like, whatever.
There should be no max. It should be everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No man left behind.
Person left behind.
No family member left behind. None.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. This is heavy, man. It's heavy for veterans. It's a lot of information to process.
I mean, that's why also, I think that's why all three of us are so excited about the 20-year war, is because unfortunately with the things going on, I think I can only speak for myself, but I think Dan and Tom would agree that we want veterans to really unite in this time. And we want to help build that up. And it's just a shame of what's going on over there.
Well, we want these stories told again through an authentic voice. Mm-hmm. And you know, I don't like the way that this unfolded. I don't think anybody does. I'm certain there's some weirdo factions out there that get joy out of this, but
right. There always is the troll.
Yeah. But hey, you know, the one thing that I do hope comes out of this is that people see the 20-year war. It's obviously all over in the news. And then people see this book and they get inspired by the veterans that are in it, that they get inspired by the voices that have come out of this, America's longest war, that they get inspired by the actions that have taken place by veterans in the last 11 days.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say that for me as someone who walked away from the veteran community, as someone who's like, after Ranger Up and after Rage 15, I was so, and Dan and I've talked about this at length, off to the side privately. I was like, fuck this shit, I'm out. I'm done. Way done. In the last week, I have had a chance to once again see why the veteran is amongst the best when they believe that their competitive advantage in life, the thing that they learned in their service, is to work as a team, to work harder than anyone thinks they're capable of, and constantly creatively adapt on the fly. That's what's going on. And if if the summation, and for me personally, of this book is ultimately that it led me to have a platform in this moment to speak out and call bullshit, and to speak out of who veterans are and what we're capable of, and connect veteran to veteran and honest broker to honest broker to help make this situation over there a little better. That will be one of the shining moments of my life. I mean that will be one of the highest things I could ever possibly do, because in this moment, just like when people ask Dan and I, what does it mean, and do you regret anything? And we're both like, no, because we kept America safe for 20 years. That's what happened in Afghanistan. And if at the end, the message is, oh no, our government did everything they could do to fuck this up. We had a bad faith actor in the White House who refused to humble himself and be honest and authentic and realize it went sideways. But guess what? All of us, less than 1% of the American population who knows what's going on and who gives a fuck, locked shields and said, not today, Satan, and went out there and did what we're doing and brought Americans back, brought these Afghans who have served with us and alongside us for so long, who have given a shit and have planted a flag and said, this, in this divisive social media echo chamber, like all the negative things in the world, this is our flag and this is what right looks like. And if you want to say something else, come and take it. Man, fuck it. I'm here for that all day. And I am so proud of every veteran, of every NGO, of every person who has planted that flag and said, this is what right looks like. And we refuse to knuckle under or give into this narrative. We refuse to say that these men and women who have served alongside us, that happen to have a darker skin tone or happen to have Afghan instead of American in their name, to think that they're lesser. We refuse to believe that just because you happen to be in a place like Barmal, Afghanistan, instead of Kabul, as an American citizen, that you do not have a right to come home, right? That's what this is about right now. That's the moment. And the thing is, I'm so fucking proud of this community, because everyone has planted that flag and said, we are in to do what we can and make sure everyone gets home. Mm-hmm. And if the government isn't willing to do it, fuck them. We'll do it ourselves. If they want to finally pull their head out of their ass and say, hey, we're willing to help, we'll send some people out, great. But God damn it, this is what America is, and God damn it, I'm so proud to be a part of this fucking community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So where can our listeners go to get your book?
Right now, it's only shipping directly through our website. So 20yearwar.com. You'll see the two different editions. So standard, just the book, the limited edition. Again, very limited, only 500 copies, and it comes with like some goodies in there for you. But
limited edition is 500. But yeah. Yep. Standard limited edition on our website, 20yearwar.com.
You guys have a Facebook or a Twitter that we can all follow?
Yeah.
Or?
All right, you ready? You ready for the whole rigmarole?
Oh yeah.
If people want to go to our Instagram, Facebook, it's We Are United Valor. At We Are United Valor. You can also search United Valor, and I'm pretty sure you'll find us. Our podcast is called Never Left Behind. Again, it's just a longer format of telling these veteran stories. A lot of the veterans that are in the book have told their story on our podcast, as well as some additional. We just this year started doing a video for our YouTube channel for Never Left Behind as well, so people can check that out.
Is it like a YouTube Never Left Behind?
Yep.
Yeah, that's our podcast.
Good.
That's
good
podcast. And then if you want to go to our website to check out kind of our mission statement, a little bit more about what we do, plus we have all the embedded links for our media and as well as our podcast and things, it's weareunitedvalor.com.
You guys do some great work, man. Thank you very much. You were going to say?
I was going to say, if you want to meet Dan and his sexy essence on Twitter, it's Dan Blake 1, BLAKELEY.
Don't forget that second one.
Yeah.
That's his OnlyFans. Tell him the other one.
Oh, no.
Hey, by the way,
don't go on that too.
So girls have to go back to working at Starbucks. I'm sorry.
And then if you want want to find me on Twitter or Instagram, it's at TommyAmenta.com. I kept the Tommy as a legacy from Ranger Up. On Facebook, it's Beau Simmons. Actually, I think it's Beau Simmons or Beau Simmons Photography. Beau Simmons.
Don't go to my Facebook. Go to my Instagram. I don't use Facebook.
You need to learn. You need to learn.
That's old stuff.
Beau Simmons on Instagram. That's where you can find him. All of us as individuals, and I've been tweeting you guys. We love everything that WTF Nation does. I gotta say this is someone who's sort of a legacy content creator in the veteran space. I remember when you guys first came up, and a buddy of mine that's down at Fort Bragg, Jeff Yerk, was like, "You got to check these new guys out." And I'm like, "What?" And then I went down the rabbit hole, and I died laughing for a solid hour. And I'm like, "Nick, you got to see this. This is fucking hilarious." So I love what you guys do. I'm glad you guys are just crushing it and killing it. So
Thanks,
keep
Tom.
doing what you guys are doing.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, wow. Thank you very much for being here. United Valor, as a consortium here, but we got Tom, Beau, and Dan here. And go and check out 20-Year War. I can't wait to get mine, and I'm gonna be taking some pics when I get this, man. I can't wait to get it.
Shipping them right now.
Shipping them. Well, limited edition will ship on Monday, Tuesday. So
Okay,
Monday.
they ship on Monday, Tuesday. That's 23, 24.
Yep.
Okay, I'll get it by the end of the month. Outstanding.
Yep.
yeah,
You will.
absolutely.
Will.
Thank you all very much for being here. Thank you very much for your service, and God bless you, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, everybody. That's our show, everybody. Go and check out 20-Year War. Go to 20yearwar.com and you'll find it, or even in your Google eyes, or you can type in 20-Year War, and you have to actually spell it out. Like it starts with the TWENTY, and it'll come up, man. It's always the first hit when I get to it, and check it out. So anyway, that's our show. We have shows usually Monday through Friday, but some of our staff is on hiatus, so we have shows on Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesday is Pop Culture Warrior with CQ and Radar, and Friday is Friday Night Freedom with me and Pooky. Thank you all very, very much for hanging out with us.
This is WTF Nation Radio.
Wear a condom? We're in Fayetteville. No one gets STDs here.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Is it necessary for me to drink my own urine?